So very good evening to all of you. Today we are present again here with the next uh, continuation of our this English Organon series. So last time we have done till aphorism 29. Last time we have tried to understand how basically the homeopathic medicines they cure the organism from natural diseases. We have understood the therapeutic law of cure. Today we will continue the same thing next in the aphorisms from 30 to 35 we'll do today, where Dr. Hahnemann has given two or three scenarios to make us understand that what is the difference between the natural disease, how it affects the body, and the difference between the medicinal disease, the artificial medicinal disease which is produced by the medicine. So what is the difference between them, how they act, and in the next class we will discuss about again three or four different scenarios where the similar or dissimilar diseases basically meet. So we'll start with our uh, today's part. So aphorism 30. The human body appears to admit of being much more powerfully affected in its health by medicines, partly because we have the regulation of the dose in our own power, than by the natural morbid stimuli, for natural diseases are cured and overcome by suitable medicines. So Dr. Hahnemann is telling us that the human body, this organism, it appears that the medicines, whichever medicines we give, whichever medicines are administered to the human body, to the human organism, they have a greater power to affect, a greater power to do something, to do an action in the body as compared to the natural morbid stimuli, as compared to the natural diseases. Some natural stimuli is coming. For example, there is cold in the, so it does not affect everyone. The cold atmosphere, it is a natural morbid stimuli, but it will not affect everyone. It does not have the power to produce a change in the health of anyone who is present there. So Dr. Hahnemann is saying that, but on the contrary, the medicines, like in the coming aphorisms also, Dr. Hahnemann will say that medicines have the power to affect each and every human body, each and every human being, each and every organism. So partly because we have the regulation of the dose, because we have that how much dose is to be given, that is in our power. The natural stimuli is not like the how much power is to be given, it is not in the control. So for natural diseases are cured and overcome by suitable medicine. So from this also it comes to the logical mind that the natural diseases can be cured and overcome by the suitable medicines. What will be the suitable medicines, that we will go in the coming aphorisms, that what are the suitable medicines. But for once we can understand this thing, that the human body, it is more malleable, it is more docile to be affected by the medicines as compared to the natural morbid stimuli. Dr. Hahnemann will take two examples in the coming two aphorisms. So aphorism 31, the inimical forces. Inimical forces means disease producing forces, partly psychical, partly physical. Some which are coming from the psyche and some which are coming from the physical world, to which our terrestrial existence is exposed, to which we are always exposed, to which our organism is always exposed, is in contact with. which are termed morbific noxious agents, and we call them disease producing agents, do not possess the power of morbidly deranging the health of man unconditionally. So, all these inimical forces, which are partly psychical, coming from the psyche, some are coming from the physical world, from the outside world, from our surroundings, they basically do not possess the power of deranging the health of man. They do not possess the power of producing disease. They do not have the power to alter or change the health of the man unconditionally. There has to be some conditions for them to act. But we are made ill by them only when our organism is sufficiently disposed and susceptible to the attack of morbific cause that may be present. They can only affect us. Cold can only affect us. Heat can only affect us. The rainy weather can affect us. The anger or the insult can only affect us if we are already disposed and susceptible to that kind of attack. So, if you are ready, if the organism is already ready, and then a stimulus comes, then it can affect. But if the organism is not susceptible, is not disposed, so even at that time, if the stimuluses are coming, the health will not be affected. Okay. And to be altered in its health, dearranged, and made to undergo abnormal sensations and functions. And when we are susceptible, we are disposed, and the stimulus is caused, then the health is altered, it is deranged, and the organism is made to undergo different kind of sensations, and the functions they can get altered. So hence they do not produce disease in everyone and nor at all times. So these kind of inimical forces, these kind of stimuluses, they do not produce disease in everyone. So the cold, it will not affect everyone. The heat, it will not affect everyone. Only those people who are already susceptible, who are already ready inside to get affected by these kind of things, they will only produce these symptoms. They will only get deranged, the health will be altered. And also, even if, like, for example, last year I was affected by cold, so it is not necessary that this year I will be affected by cold. So they will not affect you at all the times. If this year I am not susceptible, I have gained my the immunity is more strong, I am more strong, the disposition to get affected by the cold is gone by some kind of medicine or on its own, then that cold will not affect me this time. So these inimical forces, they do not produce in everyone nor at all times. So from here only we can get this understanding, so that all these forces, they do not possess that power of dearranging the health of man without any cause. And there has to be something already present in the organism. Only then these things can affect us. So there is a footnote to Aphorism 31. When I call disease a derangement of man's state of health. So Dr. Heyman is saying that whenever I'm calling that disease is basically a derangement of health. Whenever the health is deranged, some symptoms are produced, and we call that a disease. I am far from wishing thereby to give a hyper physical explanation of the internal nature of diseases generally. He's saying that I'm just calling it derangement of health, but I'm not giving any explanation of how the disease is producing or progressing internally, or of any case of disease in particular. He's saying that I am not giving any explanation about how the internal natural disease. He's saying that I'm not giving any explanation, any theory about this thing. It is only intended by this expression. Which expression? This derangement of man's state of health. He said that I only mean by this expression whenever I use it is what it can be proved diseases are not and cannot be, that they are not mechanical or chemical alterations of the material substance of the body. He said that by this I only want to tell you that these diseases which are produced, they are not because of some mechanical or chemical alterations. It is not the alterations of the material body that is producing the disease, but there is something already present in it which is showing its effect in the form of matter and not dependent on a material morphic substance. So it is also not dependent upon some kind of material morphic substance, but that they are merely spiritual dynamic derangements of the life. So they are more of dynamic derangements of the life. So whenever in the life of a human being, something gets dynamically deranged, the health will also start getting deranged. It is as simple as that. So when the health will get deranged, then we will see the alterations in the material part of the body, in the tissues, in the cells, in the organisms, in the enzymes, in some chemical part of the body. So, but keeping an understanding that the lack of something or the increase of something, that the TSH is increased or decreased, this is the disease, that is a very wrong thing to understand. That is not the disease, that is the effect of the disease. Disease has already started. Disease has already started when the patient started becoming disposed and susceptible. Then only these things can had started affecting us. So aphorism 32. So first, in the aphorism 31, Dr. Hahnemann has told us that the natural, the inimical forces, the disease producing forces, they have a limited sway on the human economy. They have limited control over the human economy. They can only affect us when we are disposed or susceptible. But it is quite otherwise with the artificial morphic agents, which we term medicines. But with the medicines, it is not like that. Every real medicine, namely, acts at all times under all circumstances. So any real medicine, which we call a medicine, it will always act and it will act under all the circumstances on every living human being. And it acts on every living human beings and produces in him its peculiar symptoms, distinctly perceptible if the dose be large enough. So he's saying that if you give the medicine to a person, it will always act. And if you want to see perceptible symptoms, what kind of symptoms it is producing, then the dose has to be large enough. It should be good large dose. And you can see those perceptible symptoms. And it acts in under all the circumstances. It is not that the patient or the person has to be susceptible or disposed first, only then the medicine will act. No. Medicine will act on all the under all the circumstances on every living human being, so that evidently every living human organism is liable to be affected. So every human being is basically liable, ready to be affected by the medicines, and as it were, inoculated with the medicinal disease at all the times and absolutely unconditionally, which, as before said, is by no means the case with the natural disease. And all these medicinal substances, they have this power to produce some symptoms, some morbid symptoms, to produce the medicinal disease at all the times and unconditional. There is no condition required for it. So that is not the case with the natural disease. So this tells us basically that the medicine, because here Dr. Hahnemann is trying to establish this fact that when you are going to give some medicine, how do you know that it is stronger than the natural disease? How do you know this thing? I'm going to give a medicine, but so how do I know that the natural disease is not more stronger? Because the therapeutic law says that the weaker dynamic affection will be extinguished by the stronger one. So how do I know that it is stronger? The medicines. So here Dr. Hahnemann is trying to explain that thing, that the natural disease, the power of natural disease can be understood from this fact that it needs certain conditions to act on every human being. If there is cold, it cannot affect everyone. If there is heat, it cannot affect everyone. The change in weather will not affect everyone. So there is something already present in the human being which makes them to affect it, which is not the case with the medicinal diseases, the disease or the symptoms the medicine produces. So when the medicine is given in any human being, it will start showing its symptoms. It will start showing its effect. So from there, we can make this out that the medicinal power is much, much more stronger than the power of the naturally occurring disease. One thing, because we can control the dose of the medicines. So aphorism 33, in accordance with this fact, it is undeniably shown by all experience that the living human organism is much more disposed and has a greater liability to be acted on and to have its health deranged by medicinal powers than by morbific noxious agents and infectious miasms, or in other words, that the morbific noxious agents possess a power of morbidly deranging man's health that is subordinate and conditional, often very conditional. So he's saying that from this fact, from these facts of aphorism 30, 31, and 32, we can make an understanding. It is undeniably shown. We cannot deny it by all the experience that the living human organisms, they are much more disposed and greater liability to be acted by the medicinal powers. That medicinal powers have more power to act on the health of human organism. And this has been seen in provings. If you take 10 patients who are healthy and you give sulfur to all of them in little larger doses, you will see all of them will produce more or less symptoms of sulfur. They all will produce it. So from there we can understand that although these symptoms are never naturally produced in these patients, any kind of natural disease has never produced these kind of symptoms in the patients, which the sulfur when given when administered to the person, and it altered the state of the health. So from here we can understand that the medicinal powers are much, much stronger than the power of the diseases which are produced by the morbific noxious agents or the miasms. Because for them to act, for the disease producing agent, the natural disease producing agents to act on a human body, they need conditions. They need certain conditions. It should be present in the human body. For example, I was talking with some of my students yesterday or day before yesterday, because we were discussing stramonium and I think phosphorus, something like that. And it came and the thing that, you know, to see a ghost, to see a demon, like some people say that I see a ghost, I see a demon. They, the image should already be present in your mind. It should be there. Only then you can see it. So you have to be first ready to get affected by that thing. That is a condition. Otherwise, that is the reason why many people don't see or believe in ghosts, and many people they believe in ghosts and they see them also. So until and unless that image is not already present, I am not already conditioned or susceptible to be affected by that thing. That thing can never affect me. So these kind of things, either psychic or the physical, if they have to affect us, it is very conditional. While medicinal agents have an absolute unconditional power. The medicinal agents, they have unconditional power, greatly superior to the former. So from here, Dr. Hanuman says that we can very easily understand that the medicinal power is always in all the cases on all the conditions greater than the power of the natural diseases which the people are suffering from. So there is a footnote to aphorism 33. A striking fact in corroboration of this is that whilst previously to the year 1801, when the smooth scarlatina of Sydenham still occasionally prevailed epidemically among children, it attacked without exception all the children who had escaped it in a former epidemic. So he's saying that to corroborate this thing which I am telling in these aphorisms, to more add to it, to give a new example to it, that before 1801, when the smooth scarlatina, this epidemic was going on in the Sydenham of the Sydenham. So this used to prevail epidemically among children. It would attack without exception. Okay, all the children who escaped the previous epidemic. So all the children who were not affected in the previous epidemic. So when a new epidemic will come, it will be all those children will be attacked by this smooth scarlatina of Sydenham. So in a similar epidemic, which I witnessed, which Dr. Hahnemann witnessed in Coinsletter, on the contrary, all the children who took in time a very small dose of belladonna remained unaffected by this highly infectious infantile disease. So he said that there was an epidemic which I witnessed, and to the contrary to this, that all the children who took small doses of belladonna, they did not had this scarlatina. So he says that from here we can understand that medicines, if medicines can protect from a disease that is raging around, so this medicine, this belladonna protected all those children from the disease which was going all over at that time, they must possess a vastly superior power of affecting our vital force. So he said that from this only we can understand that there was this natural disease going on in the epidemic. Every child was getting affected by it. But those children who got belladonna in time, they remain unaffected by this disease. So he said that from here we can see that which power is more stronger, the disease power, the natural disease power, or the power of the medicines. Okay, so from all these things, we can come to this conclusion that the power of medicine is always superior to the power of disease, to the natural power of disease. So, aphorism 34, the greater strength of the artificial disease producible by the medicines is, however, not the sole cause of their power to cure natural disease. Now, we come to the second part. He says that this greater strength of the medicinal medicines, it is not the sole cause, it is not the only cause how they cure the natural diseases. But there is something more to it. What is it is, in order that they may affect a cure, it is before all things requisite that they should be capable of producing in the human body an artificial disease as similar as possible to the disease to be cured, in order by means of this similarity. It says that only the greater power of the medicine is not enough. The medicine should be also similar to what it is going to cure. There has to be similarity also. The symptoms should be similar. If it has a capable of producing a similar, stronger disease, similar, stronger medicinal disease, then only it can replace the natural morbid disease. So similarity conjoined with its somewhat greater strength to substitute themselves for the natural morbid affection. Only then it can substitute themselves for the natural morbid affection and thereby deprive the later of all influence upon the vital force. And then only it can replace the natural disease, and the natural disease will then have no influence over the vital force. This is so true that no previously existing disease can be cured even by nature herself by the accession of a new dissimilar disease. He's saying that even the nature herself, it cannot cure any disease if it is not similar. It cannot cure the disease with a dissimilar disease. He will talk about the certain examples from aphorism 37 onwards, 36 onwards, I think, 36 or 37 onwards. So where he will give you the example that many times the nature has produced some disease, that some disease has come naturally to a patient, which has removed some older disease, extinguished some older disease, because that natural occurring disease was basically similar to what was going on. Right? So we will go in detail in it when we will reach those aphorisms. So be it ever so strong, even if the dissimilar disease is very strong, just as little can it be cured by medical treatment with drugs which are incapable of producing a similar morbid condition in the healthy body. So even if your medicine is very strong, the strength is greater, but if you're giving it on a base of dissimilar disease, and you're giving the opposite part, if there is a uh, problem of headache, sorry, there's a problem of kind of okay, headache, and you're giving medicine which does not have headache in it or has the tendency of which is opposite to it, then it cannot cure or extinguish that disease. So only the strength of the disease is not important. The medicinal power to cure also lies with the similarity to the disease. So when both these things are there, it is stronger than the disease, it is similar to the disease, then it is the medicine's power to cure, basically. In order to illustrate this, we shall consider in three different cases as well what happens in nature when two dissimilar natural diseases meet together in one person, as also the result of the ordinary medical treatment of diseases with unsuitable allopathic drugs which are incapable of producing an artificial morbid condition similar to the disease to be cured. So he's saying that in three different cases, in three different parts, we will try to understand what happens in nature when the two dissimilar natural diseases will come together. Because this is the same thing which is happening in the medical treatment when the unsuitable drugs are given, which are basically dissimilar to the condition already present, whereby it will appear that even nature herself is unable to remove a dissimilar disease already present by one that is unhomeopathic. Even the nature, if it produces naturally some dissimilar disease, which is unhomeopathic, it cannot remove the older one which is already present there, even though it be stronger. Just as little is the unhomeopathic employment of even the strongest medicines ever capable of curing any disease. So even the medicines are strongest. You have the strongest of the medicines, but if you are employing them unhomeopathically, they will not be capable of curing any disease whatsoever. Right? So there will be different illustration scenarios which Dr. Hahnemann will take us through till aphorism 40-41. So it is they are long aphorisms. So we might not be able to do it today. So we will have to stop here and we will do with that the next Wednesday. But till now, we have to understand from these aphorisms is that basically the power of medicine is always stronger than the power of natural disease. That is why we call it medicine. That is why we call it remedy. Because whenever you have to cure someone, whenever you have to affect someone with your medicine, so that is the problem with the allopathic medicines. What is the problem is we measure the quantity, we measure the power of medicine materially. Materially, how we measure the power is in milligrams, in micrograms, means in material part in some quantity. So what happens is when some disease comes, like for example, there is a tendency of migraine in a patient. So some power, some milligram of the medicine is always given to the patient. So after some time, and it starts affecting also the patient. But after some time, it is seen that the same medicine, same quantity, same power, it stops affecting the patient. Whenever the migraine attacks comes now, the same medicine does not have the power to cure it. Or cure means subside it or temporarily suppress it or palliate it. So then the power has to be increased. Then after some time, the palliation is difficult. Then the salt has to be changed, which is having a different kind of reaction on the body. So because we are producing this, it is not that the medicine is not affecting, it is affecting initially, but it is also making the natural disease stronger because of the dissimilarity. This is what the Dr. Hahnemann will tell us, that why the disease they keep on becoming stronger. Why the medicine which was affecting the patient, it has not stopped affecting. Okay, so we will discuss all those scenarios in the uh, next class. So if you have any questions regarding till now, till aphorism 35, you can ask me, you can send me, message me, we can talk about those things. Because this theoretical part, this is very important to make a platform on which our practical part will evolve. So you can send me in between questions if you have any regarding all these things, and we can go through in the next class. So till then, thank you. Thank you so much. Have a very good day. Have a very good night. Thank you. Thank you.